they've fallen so far. It's so grubby, their trip to Australia. His If he actually comes to London for these games, the Invictus Games, and goes to Birmingham, the idea of Meghan coming here appalls everyone. They're furious with the Sussexes on the whole. The general mood is just don't want anything to do with them. And if he loses the Daily Mail case, it'll be even worse because he'll then be like Andrew, branded as a liar, that his evidence wasn't honest and sincere. So he has huge reputational problems.
Triggered again. Tom Bower reacts to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's Australia success. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for being here. If you enjoy thoughtful commentary, honest conversations and a deeper look at what's really going on behind the headlines, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Your support truly helps keep this space going. Now today, we have to talk about something that honestly feels like déjà vu, but also a little bit predictable. Because once again, the conversation has been stirred. And yes, it involves Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. But more specifically, it involves a reaction. One that, depending on how you look at it, says just as much about the commentator as it does about the couple themselves. And that brings us to Tom Bower. Now, let's be honest from the start, there is a pattern here. A very clear pattern. Every time Harry and Meghan step into a moment of visibility, success, or public engagement that resonates positively with audiences, there is always a wave of commentary that tries, sometimes desperately, to reshape that moment into something negative. And this time, it was their trip to Australia. Let's talk about that visit for a second. Because the reality is, whether you support them or not, the visuals told a very clear story. Crowds showed up, people were engaged, there was energy, there was excitement, there was curiosity, and yes, there was support. Now, you can debate interpretations all day long, but what you cannot easily dismiss is what people could actually see. And that's where things start to get interesting. Because while many viewers were looking at those scenes and thinking, others were already preparing a very different narrative. And this is where Tom Bower enters the conversation again. Now, here's the part that caught attention. It almost felt like the reaction came late, like there was a delay before the familiar criticism appeared. And when it did, it leaned into a very familiar theme, that Harry and Meghan have somehow fallen, that their influence has declined, that their relevance is fading. But here's the thing. That narrative becomes harder to maintain when visible evidence keeps contradicting it. Because if someone is falling, what exactly are we looking at when we see continued global attention, ongoing projects, and strong public engagement? That's the disconnect people are starting to notice more and more. And it's why reactions like this are no longer just accepted at face value. They're being questioned. Now let's pause for a moment and flip the perspective. Because this is where the conversation gets more layered. When someone repeatedly insists that another person is losing relevance, despite clear signs of continued visibility, it raises a question. Is the commentary reflecting reality? Or is it reflecting expectation? Because sometimes what we're actually witnessing is not a description of events, but resistance to change. And that's important, because Harry and Meghan didn't just step away from royal duties. They stepped away from a system of expectations, They chose a different path. And whether people agree with that or not, that choice disrupted a very established narrative. Now let's talk about something deeper, because this isn't just about one commentator, it's about a broader pattern. Why do moments of visible success from Harry and Meghan often trigger such strong negative reactions? Why does positive public engagement get reframed so quickly into criticism? One possible answer is this: because success challenges the narrative. If the expectation is that stepping away from the royal institution would lead to decline, then any evidence to the contrary becomes uncomfortable. And discomfort often leads to stronger reactions, not quieter ones. There's something else happening here too, a kind of loop, a cycle where the same claims are repeated. They're irrelevant. They've failed. They've fallen. And yet they remain in the headlines. They remain part of global conversations. They continue launching projects, making appearances, and engaging audiences. At some point, people begin to notice that contradiction. And once they notice it, it becomes very difficult to ignore. Now, while all this commentary is happening, something else is going on, something much more grounded in reality. Meghan Markle is back home, and she's working, she's building, she's launching. Her brand has introduced a Mother's Day product line, something that speaks directly to her audience and her positioning in the lifestyle and wellness space. And here's what matters. This is action, not speculation, not commentary. Actual work being put into motion. And whether people choose to support it or not, it represents something very clear: continuity, growth, independence. Now, let's address something directly, but thoughtfully. There is a segment of commentary that reacts very strongly to anything Harry and Meghan do, and often those reactions go beyond simple criticism. They become repetitive, predictable, almost automatic. And that's where viewers start using words like triggered, not as an insult, but as an observation. Because when every move, positive or negative, is met with the same level of hostility, it stops feeling like analysis and starts feeling like reflex. Let's be clear about something important. Criticism is valid. Public figures can be questioned, their decisions can be analysed. That's part of being in the public eye. But there is a difference between criticism and fixation. Criticism evolves, it responds to new information. Fixation repeats. It stays the same, regardless of context. And what many viewers are starting to notice is that, in some cases, the tone of commentary around Harry and Meghan hasn't really changed, no matter what they actually do. This is where the audience comes in. Because today's viewers are not passive. They compare. They revisit footage. They analyse language. They notice patterns. And when they see a gap between what is being shown and what is being said, they start asking questions. That's exactly what's happening now. So what does all of this mean? It means we're no longer just watching a story about two individuals. We're watching a story about narratives, about how they are built, how they are maintained, and how they are challenged. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have become central figures in that larger conversation, not just because of who they are, but because of what they represent: change, independence, and the ability to step outside traditional expectations. So when you see reactions like the one from Tom Bauer, it's worth asking, is this about the facts? Or is it about maintaining a narrative? Because if the narrative says they've fallen, but reality shows continued activity, engagement and visibility, then maybe the story isn't about their decline. Maybe it's about the difficulty some have in accepting their evolution. And on that note, we're going to leave it there for today. But I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you see a disconnect between narrative and reality? Or do you think this is just part of normal media commentary? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We always keep it respectful and open here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.